Day 1. Silence begins. One day, you wake up, but your alarm doesn't go off, the lights don't turn on, and the familiar hum from the fridge is gone. The world has fallen into an unfamiliar silence. Electricity no longer exists, but people think it's temporary. It'll come back soon, they say, trying to head to work. But without traffic lights and signals, cities descend into chaos as horns blare and confusion reigns. Gradually, the realization sets in. This change is permanent. Week 1. The collapse of technology. In the first week, there was still hope that electricity would return. But as time passed, people began to understand that this was a permanent shift. Electronic devices had become useless. People stopped thinking about social media, making phone calls, or watching TV. But these were only minor issues. The real problem lay in how modern medicine, food distribution, and water systems were all dependent on electricity. Hospitals fell into crisis, supply chains broke down, and refrigeration systems failed. Cities quickly faced shortages of food and clean water. Month 1. The modern world becomes history. By the end of the first month, the world was unrecognizable. Without electricity, the foundations of modern society crumbled one by one. Factories shut down, machines stopped working, money lost its value, food and water became luxuries. Looting and chaos broke out in the cities. People fled to rural areas, seeking natural water sources and safe shelter. Cities became ruins, places no one wanted to live anymore. Year 1. A new era begins. After a year, the world was reborn, but this rebirth brought about a simpler, darker age for humanity, far removed from the comforts of modern life. Cities were abandoned. Small communities struggled to survive through farming and hunting. Technology had become a distant memory, and people reverted to old ways of living. Small farms were cultivated, animals were domesticated again, and the rising and setting of the sun dictated the rhythm of life. In some parts of society, the era of electricity became the subject of legend. Children were told stories like, "Once upon a time, lights would turn on with the flip of a switch." A new culture emerged in this electricity-less world. Year 10. The rules of the new world. By the 10th year, humanity had fully embraced the reality of living without electricity. Cities were overrun by nature. Forests reclaimed the streets, and the skyscrapers of the past were now obscured by trees and vines. Abandoned buildings became the homes of birds, and wild animals roamed freely through once bustling streets. People lived in small, isolated communities, depending on farming, hunting, and fishing to survive. Time was no longer measured by clocks or digital devices, but by the movement of the sun and the changing of the seasons. Communication between settlements was carried out through old methods, like messenger pigeons or long-distance runners. In some of the remaining cities, scientists were attempting to rediscover electricity, but most of the knowledge of modern science had been lost. Libraries had crumbled, and electronic archives were inaccessible. What was once a world of technology now felt like an impossible dream.
I always keep on running when everybody waits, following this heart of mine through every stormy day.